Welcome to the MBS News Town Hall for the United Cities April 2017 election. Here we are at the MBS News Debate Center on the Lab World, and we have some of the candidates for the different races in the UC election. Of course, some candidates could not make it today. Dragon Bloom could not make it, Mike Roma could not make it, Fred, and a few other people. But we are going to continue with the candidates that we have. And how this is going to be structured is MBS News collected questions from the public that they would like to ask to the candidates in the United Cities. And we are going to read these questions aloud in chronological order. Some questions apply to different candidates. The candidates that are here are going to be able to answer these questions. So without further ado, let's go to our first question. Now, the first question, this is directed at a few candidates, some of which are not here. So really, the only candidates that are here that this question is directed at is me and Skelly. And this question is, what policy changes would you enact in the UC were you to be elected, and why? So I'm the Attorney General candidate, so I'm going to give my response. If I were elected to be Attorney General, I have actually a couple weeks ago released what my agenda would be for the UC Department of Law. My agenda would include, of course, the normal Department of Law duties of assisting the president in legal matters, as well as maintaining and updating records and all of that stuff. But I also aim to make the Department of Law a public service, sort of, for the people of the United Cities. So, for example, let's say a UC member has an idea for a resolution that they would like to propose for a certain policy change. I'd like to have a system so that they can go to the Department of Law and have their resolution basically be reviewed, just to make sure that there's no legal holes in it or anything, and to make it as legally sound and perfect as it can be. And yeah. So now let's go to the other Attorney General candidate to ask that question. Skelly Zomperman, what policy changes would you enact in the UC were you to be elected, and why?
Well, as I said before, I will pursue any cases that seem to break the UC in some way, shape, or form, or break the Constitution in order to avoid holes being created in the Constitution. I plan on creating a team of clerks to assist myself in managing the UC Wiki page so that nothing bad happens, or as well as to assist myself in pursuing cases. And I will pursue cases that are creating legal holes, even if they go against my political motivations. However, I will try not to stall the court system with too many cases. And in addition, I also plan on possibly making the resolutions archive page more readable by reorganizing it to be in chronological order and splitting it up so it's not one giant page. The resolutions archive page is actually not too far from becoming the longest page on the MRT Wiki, and that's what I plan on doing as Attorney General. Not major changes, just some stuff to help out around with the United Cities.
All right, and so thank you, Skelly. Next, this question actually also should be directed at JPH. Who wrote the question did not include that, but they told me that they want JP. So JPH, what policy changes will you to be elected, and why?
Well, most of what I is to continue to play the role Narnia has in his 2 terms as vice president. I hope to provide assistance to Castle as needed, help and help him put his agenda into motion. Of course, I've got some ideas as well. I founded this organization. There were some things as president that I wanted to do that I couldn't get done because I didn't have enough time to do it. But I have high hopes for this next term.
All right, this question was also directed at presidential candidates Fred the Time Lord and Mike Roma, vice presidential candidate Sosa123, Secretary of State candidate PTLD, and Chief Justice candidate Dragon Balloon 419, but none of those candidates have shown up for this event, so we are going to go on to the next question.
Mike Roma has already representing him.
Is already in Discord right now.
He is in your voice channel. I don't think he can speak, but he's probably able to use text.
All right, well, Artie, if you're going to participate on behalf of Mike Roma, then you should TPA to me.
He's not Minecraft.
In that case, we'll just be doing this over Discord. Okay, Artie, so as you are the chair of the MRT Green Party, which Mike Roma is running on behalf of, I'm going to ask you this question. What policy changes do you believe Mike Roma would enact in the UC were he to be elected, and why?
What channels to be put in?
And Artie is going to be typing this in the General Assembly channel, so I'm going to read off his answer. No, Artie, you're muted. You should unmute yourself.
It says he's unmuted.
I unmuted.
And now
Oh.
he's unmuted.
Test.
Yep, we hear you.
We hear you.
Okay, I'm speaking on behalf of the Microman and Soso 123, who are the candidates of the MRT Green Party and Freedom Parties respectively. So for your questions, as the Green Party, we have like 3 general policies to implement. The first one is basically preserving and making the MRT history more accessible and preserving the culture from the older days from the start. It was amazing these days. To do that, we are planning to launch some organizations. I don't know. There are going to be stuff. Yellow Witcher has done some great stuff on some wiki pages so far. It was nice.
All right, are you done there? I'm going to move on to the next question. Thank you, Artie, on behalf of the MRT International Coalition.
And we have some greenery policies as well. First off, we have around cities which include Omada and what was the league city called?
All right, are you done, or? All right, in that case, let's move on to the next question. The next question is directed at Soso123 running for Vice President and Dragon Balloon running for Chief Justice. These 2 questions, these 2 candidates are not here, but I'm going to read the question that was asked of them, and that is, what do you say to people that feel you are too immature and young to hold office in the United Cities? I'm going to move on to the next question since both candidates are not here. The next question is directed at Mindman and PTLD running for Secretary of State. PTLD is not here and Mindman just left the game. Wonderful. Mindman, do you still hear us in Discord? I'm going to skip this question until Mindman returns. The next question is directed towards presidential candidate _Castle. Castle, the question that is asked for you is: some people perceive that you are Americentric and quote hate Asians. What do you say to those people?
I don't hate Asians, first of all. I guess I should say that. And also, I don't know why you would think I have a problem with those outside of the United States. I mean, do I happen to associate more with people on the United States on the server? Yes, I do, in the same way that someone like Alex Song associates more with people in his time zones because it's when I'm online. But I don't have a problem if you want to propose ideas to me from wherever you are in the world. I'm going to listen to them as long as you give them to me in a format that I can understand. I don't have a problem with other ideas or people from other countries, so I'm not sure why they would think that, but I hope that alleviates some of their concerns.
All right, thank you, Castle. And Mindman seems to have returned. Mindman, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. My internet might work.
All right, so the next question is for Mindman and PTLD, but PTLD is not here, so I will be asking it to Mindman. So Mindman, as Secretary of State, how would you diffuse an argument occurring in the UC Discord?
One of the first things I feel like I made an error of my previous term and want to do better with debates is use the State Department more. The whole point of the State Department channel was to have the debates there, and from there I can oversight things a lot more. It's a lot easier to oversee any debates that are happening in the State Department channel than in the General Assembly, where they usually turn into arguments, as we have seen recently with some candidates. So what I will probably do in future, or try to do better, is provide more options for candidates and a lot more compromise for when there's debates happening between two people, and try to diffuse arguments through the way of options, and also advertise the way the State Department is used, like should be used, because I feel like it's underused at the moment and people don't see the purpose of it. But I think it's an important part to help stop arguments becoming flame wars in the General Assembly channel.
All right, thank you, Mindman. The next question is for a candidate who is not here, and that is Sosa123 running for Vice President. This question is: your advertisements say that the United Cities can do better with you. How will you do better with the United Cities than your opponents? Soso is not here to answer that question, but if you see him on your own time and you want to ask him that question, I suppose you can. We're going to move to the next question.
Wait. I'm here.
Artie, would you like to speak on behalf of Soso?
Well, I don't know the insight of the Soso's campaign, and I don't exactly know what he's going to do, but, well, we have the international platform behind Soso, and we have like 5 parties contributing to that platform. So instead of one party of the other candidates, we have like 5 parties with 5 different agendas. Each party thinking of other issues differently. Like we have a slightly more diverse agenda than any other parties. So it's probably going to be better than the single party candidates. Thanks.
All right, and the next question I believe Artie can also answer. This is a question directed at Mike Roma, the Green Party candidate for president. What exactly do you expect to do that isn't related to anything green? Of course, Mike Roma is not here to speak on his own behalf, but Artie, if you'd like to make a statement on behalf of the Green Party and MRT International, you may.
Again, for the issues not relating to greenery, we have the international platform, which is like we have the Labour Party for wage stuff or something like that, the Rent Party, which is run by baseball. As you can see, each of these parties are like directed at different stuff, as I explained above, but let me finish with that. So what was I going to say? Yeah.
All right, then. That is Artie speaking on behalf of the MRT Green Party and MRT International. The next question we have is directed at PTLD running for Secretary of State, who isn't here right now, but I'm just going to read out the question. The question is, you said that you wrote a book highlighted in a negative advertisement in anger. How do you guarantee voters that you will not make rash decisions as Secretary of State? If any of you would like to ask PTLD that question, you can message him on Discord or whatever. The next question is actually directed at candidates that are here. And this question is, how do you plan on expanding on the accomplishments of your first term if you are reelected to your position? First, we will ask Castle, the candidate for president.
Well, one of the important things that I tried to focus on in my term is giving committees the power to work on projects, because before, executive committees were very much hampered by a bunch of, I guess, what you could call bureaucratic red tape. So one of the positions I really pushed for was allowing committees to be able to work with some degree of autonomy to be able to get projects completed. And I think that's worked out quite nicely. You can see that the Parks Committee has been working on things. The Transit Committee already has a few routes that they've set up. So I think I plan on continuing a lot of my stuff through that committee system so that we can accomplish more community projects for the UC. And I think it's really important to do projects that way, because that way you have multiple people that can give input. It's not just one person sending a secret email to the staff at the GSM to get a proposal in. So I think I want to just continue the legacy of having a lot of good projects for the UC to work on.
All right. And next, we are going to ask the same question to Secretary of State candidate Mindman just left the game. Okay. So we're going to ask that to him in a minute, but first we're going to ask the same question to Chief Justice candidate Cal 76. How do you plan on expanding on the accomplishments of your first term if you are reelected to your positions?
Yeah. Yeah,
All
kids
right.
back as well.
Okay, Mindman, and now the same question to you. The same question for Mindman, the Secretary of State candidate. How do you plan on expanding on the accomplishments of your first term if you are reelected to your position?
As I said earlier, expanding on the use of the State Department, as that is wildly underused at the moment. And if things were dealt with more democratically and more open-mindedly in the State Department, where I have more oversight over arguments and debates, I feel like there'll be a lot less like disagreements and a lot more open-mindedness and lots more agreement between players. And I feel guilty about my first term for not promoting this as much, but I will make sure to promote the State Department in my second if I get elected.
All right. Thank you, Mindman. The next question is directed at every candidate, and this question from an anonymous UC member is, during the first term of the office, I felt as if my voice was not heard. What would you do to make sure that all voices are heard and the decrease of only the highest ranking officials in the UC making all important decisions? We're going to start with Castle, the incumbent president who is running for re-election.
Well, one of the things that I really like to do, at least, is when committees will have forms that allow for public opinion. So I think I would definitely encourage committees to make utilize Google Forms when they're planning their activities, so that they can get an idea of what the general consensus in the community is feeling. If people want their voices heard, I would encourage them, if they have a concern that they want the president or any other officers to have, I would encourage people to either PM me in Discord if it's not something that they want everyone to see, or if it is something that they want everyone to see, then just mention one of us in Discord, and we'll respond to it as best we can.
All right, next we're going to ask this to JPH Golf 4321, the candidate for vice president. JPH, this question, to read it off again, is, during the first term of the office, I felt as if my voice was not heard. What would you do to make sure that all voices are heard and decrease the only highest ranking officials in the UC making all important decisions?
Honestly, I like Castle's approach to this, and I'm basically going to reiterate what he said. If you want your voice to be heard, then by all means speak up. We're not going to be hearing the voice of the people if the people don't speak up and say, hey, here's my voice, listen to it. Like, we want people to be active in this thing, and if we want it to work, we need both the top people and the people who aren't in an elected office to be able to be in a position that they can have basically an equal say in what goes on in the United Cities. Because no matter what a president's agenda is, it has to get to the General Assembly first, but the General Assembly doesn't have to have the president's approval to get what they want, because they can pass something over his veto. So I think, if you're to whoever that anonymous asker was, I apologize if you feel like your voice wasn't heard, but I think we can definitely do better to work with you to figure out what we need to do better to change how our voices are heard, and yeah.
Okay, thank you, JP. Next, we're going to ask the same question to Secretary of State candidate Mindman. Mindman, the question again is, during the first term of office, I felt as if my voice was not heard. What would you do to make sure all voices are heard and the decrease of only the highest ranking officials in the UC making all important decisions?
Who's answering this?
This is an anonymous asker.
No, who's answering this?
You're answering.
Okay, yeah, I just have to go back. Yeah, for what I would also agree with basically what Cass and JP said. The officers, I don't feel like the officers necessarily have more of a say than others, but I feel like some people don't speak up enough, and we can't make a judgment for the whole UC if people don't speak up about their opinion more. And I would greatly encourage that in a very diplomatic and civil way. If people can be civil, speaking up about your opinion is great, and officers can put to work their actions. But also, I feel like people who haven't been put into elected office don't realize how much they can push their opinions and their ideas to resolution. like if you have an idea which you think would be a great thing for the United Cities, let's say a committee or some bit of law or legislation, a resolution is easy enough to create. You don't have to be an officer, and if you want your voice to be heard, you don't necessarily need an officer to be listening, but you just got to put it out there, and people will listen, because that's what the UC should be for.
All right, thank you, Mindman. Next, as I am one of the Attorney General candidates, I'll go over to my podium and answer this question myself. So the question is, during the first term of office, I felt as if my voice was not heard. What will you do to make sure all voices are heard and the decrease of only the highest ranking officials in the UC making all important decisions? So my response to this is that the UC is designed as a democratic system. Over time, it's gotten more democratic than it has been in the past. And the entire purpose of this system is to give its members a collective voice in how the UC operates. For example, this entire event we're doing right now, this is an event we are participating in the UC's system of democracy, because you will be choosing from amongst the candidates who will be elected into office. But even when candidates are elected into office, the people who are in the General Assembly still have the power to make decisions. For example, proposing resolutions, anyone can propose a resolution. And all you need are 3 endorsements from 3 other members of the General Assembly, or an exemption from the president. And then, of course, the president does have veto power, but you also have the power to override that veto. And so any major decision that's made by the UC, for example, to change any laws or whatever, has to be approved by the collective will of the people. And if you feel like your voice isn't being heard, then, as has been stated by Castle, as has been stated by JP, you need to make your voice heard. In the UC Bill of Rights, which is a resolution that I proposed and that passed a couple days ago, or maybe about a week ago, it specifically states all players of the UC have the unrestricted right to campaign politically. So if you want to not even just campaign, if you want to campaign not even just for a candidate in an election, but if you want to campaign on a resolution, make your voice heard and tell people why they should vote a certain way. And if you make your voice heard, people will listen to you. And that is my response to that. Next, we are going to ask the same question to Skelly Zomperman, the Attorney General candidate.
Well, I'd like to say to whoever said it, and there are multiple people who have expressed the same sentiment as the anonymous asker of the question, that they should just speak out. In fact, I myself have proposed a lot of resolutions, and every one of them has been able to successfully pass the General Assembly. And the ones which haven't made it to law did so because they were failed either by the Security Council or the President. Now, all you need, if you PM me your resolution idea, I can tell you if it's a good idea or not. I can help you to brush up on any holes in your law so it becomes rock tight and doesn't cause any big problems. And just speak up. That's my response.
All right. And finally, we ask the same question to Cal 76 candidate for Chief Justice, who is also the incumbent. The question is, during the first term of office, I felt as if my voice was not heard. What would you do to make sure that all voices are heard and the decrease of only the highest ranking officials in the UC making important decisions? Okay, so that is Artie. Would you like to make an answer on behalf of MRT International and the Green Party?
Sure. So the question was, if I remember correctly, the voice is not being heard, right?
Yeah.
Basically, the question is the person feels their voice is not being heard. What would you do to make sure that it's not just the top level officials in the UC making all the important decisions?
Yep. So the international platform was funded to exactly accomplish this goal to make voices of the smaller parties heard because we are mainly left-wing parties. Generally, in the world and the MRT left-wing parties are much more diverse on their agendas and ideologies, and as such, they get much less votes than more fragmented party platforms. Like in Turkey, there is the Erdogan's party for the entire right wing, and there are like 20 left-wing parties, even multiple communist parties. I think you get what I mean. The same generalization holds true for the MRT too. We have like parties such as Freedom, Rent Party, and Sapo is planning to start a socialist party, which I hope will be joining the MRTI soon. To solve the problem, we have united and formed the international, where each party gets its own voice to get a chance to have its agenda heard at the UC in general. We have a board of ideas to keep track of who thinks what, and if there are people believing their voices aren't properly heard, take it as well as join the MRTI and participate in our thinking process. Like we have many different branches out there. There are this is central committee. They can join the central committee. We work together to have our voices as a whole heard in the UC.
All right, thank you, Artie, on behalf of the MRT Green Party and MRT International. With the next few questions, I would like to remind the candidates that we are running short on time, so please try to keep your answers clear and concise and do not take too long when answering the questions. So the next question we will ask first is, as president, what projects do you plan on doing with committees? This question we will first direct towards Castle, the incumbent candidate for president.
Well, first of all, one of my main things is continuing the committees that we have set up. So, for example, I'd really like to see the Parks Committee grow because they've just started in the planning phases of what they're going to do. But I mean, for most of the committees, I like to, ask people what they want committees to do. Like if someone proposes a committee and you give good reasons behind it, I would be happy to implement that committee. So I don't think it's so much as far as projects that are done by committees. I think a lot of it is dictated by the will of the General Assembly.
All right. And Mike Roma is not here, so Artie, if you would like to speak on behalf of him, please be as quick as you can in your answer because we are running out of time.
Okay, I'm voicing the answer of DJMC, who is the official spokesman. As he's writing, he says we want committees to continue. He's typing. Let me just wait. We want easier ways to propose ideas to committees.
Sorry about that, I moved channels by accident.
So at the moment, some are hard to propose to, for example, transit.
Again, please go quickly because we are running out of time and this is taking too long.
Okay, we will publish the written answer sometime in the future. Is that okay?
All right, yeah, because we have to move on. We're going to ask the next question. This question actually is directed at MRT International. MRT International has stated repeatedly they plan on reforming the UC. Could you specify what those reforms are? If DJMC, could you speak and basically say what MRT International's planned reforms are for the UC?
As far as I know, he's unable to speak right now, so I'll do it since it's mostly my project. So basically, we want to introduce a slightly more debatable system, like the anti-resolution systems right now are stricted to a yes and no vote, with members are barely allowed to voice different opinions on directly accepting or dismissing the whole resolution. And we want to make debating more prevalent too. So far, we have been creating our own infrastructure in the MRTI. We have our own debating rooms. If we see that our own framework works, we will start announcing which parts we can improve in the whole UC framework. So it's going to come on the upcoming weeks, but the main focus will be dialectics and debating.
All right. Thank you. And once. So our next question. Okay, our next question we will direct at this next question. Honestly, I'm going to skip because we're running out of time, and this question is literally just what do you plan on doing as president? And I believe all of the candidates for president have basically explained what they plan to do as president, so I'm going to skip that. The next question is the next question is directed at Castle. Now, Castle, if re-elected, what exactly will be your agenda for your 3-month tenure as president? What committees will you create? What projects will you work on? I feel like this is redundant, but this is more of a specific question. So if you can answer more specifically, that would be great.
Okay, well, one of the things that I really want to wrap up is the contest for a new headquarters, and I think that'll just really help the UC as far as from a marketing standpoint, so newer members will see that, and they might ask questions about it, so I think that would be helpful for us. Another thing that I also want to do is just continue the work of committees that have already been going on, which I mean, I've stated a lot of times, but that is what the question is. And again, as far as new committees, I don't want to just propose things myself. I want input from the public about what committees they want.
All right, the next question is for Fred the Time Lord, who is not here. I'm just going to read out the question. Advertisements have argued that you have no experience running an organization. What is your response? Fred is not here to answer that question. The next question is we're going to ask Cal 76. Who would you nominate as Associate Justice? All right. The next question, we are starting to near the end of questions. The next question, Castle, what would you do to help cities work more well together?
That's all it is. It's not more.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, as far as that, most of that is honestly up to the Secretary of State position. But I mean, obviously, I would direct the Secretary of State to try to resolve conflicts that arise between cities. But as far as what I can do to help cities work better together, I mean, again, a lot of that depends on the Secretary of State. Although, to be honest, I'm not certain what the problem is currently with cities working together. Because, again, we have to keep in mind what the jurisdiction of the UC is. And we're not staff. We can't take any action to resolve conflicts between cities unless those cities want us to.
All right, and would MRT International like to make a statement? Please make it quick.
What was the question again?
The question is, what will you do to help cities work together? Please be short and concise.
I'll again quote DJ. He says, "Cities better together. We encourage cities to talk to each other in the State Department channel, where it can be monitored by the Secretary of State. This means that any disputes can be solved promptly."
All right, thank you. And the next question, we have three more questions.
Do we have?
We have three more questions left. Can someone game that to Yoshi? The next question, this is going to be directed at this is directed at Fred and Mike Roma. Let's have MRT International answer. How do you feel like you can differentiate yourself from Castle if you are elected president?
Also, Yoshi says, hurry up.
I'm running out of battery. Can I have DJ or someone else answer this question in chat?
DJMC can answer in chat.
Well, we don't really have time for that. Wait, in-game or?
In the Discord chat.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. MRT International, give its answer to that question.
DGMC is doing it in Discord chat.
Can you look at the
DJMC, if you'd like to type that out in Discord, you can, but I'm going to move on because we really don't have time.
Did you see my PM in the Minecraft chat?
I will pin the message for a while once it's done.
Anyway, yeah. Next question, please. Can we just...
Okay, the next question. This is the last question, and this is also directed at MRT International, specifically Mike Roma running for president, but MRT International will be answering on his behalf. Why do you want to rewrite the Constitution? That is the question.
Is this part of Dark Peace campaign?
This is a question towards Mike Roma. Why do you want to rewrite the Constitution? Would you like to answer on behalf of the Green Party and MRT International?
I think that was entirely by the IFS.
Okay, I suppose that's it. We are out of questions now, but for the questions towards the candidates that were not here, MBS News, probably after the mall, seeing those questions on the wiki, and the candidates themselves can answer those questions. This entire event, this entire town hall will be available to be viewed on YouTube on the MBS channel. MBS will be doing coverage of the UC election We will be covering the results on next Sunday when the election closes. And of course, we will continue to conduct MBS News polling. So for more news on the election, go to bit.ly/MBS News, which is our wiki page, and follow MBS News on Twitter at @news_MBS. This has been the MBS News Town Hall for the United Cities April 2017 election. Thank you for being here.